Welcome to the Art of Pivoting Your Life, Breaking Free and Crafting Change. I'm Michelle Carbone, a clinical hypnotherapist and intuitive coach. You can call in for guidance and coaching on making a pivot in your own life. The number to call is 516-623-1240. As always, we have plenty to talk about if nobody calls in, but we'd love to hear from you too.
Today, I have with me Dr. Liz McDonald, who is a PT, among other things, and she's going to tell us about it. And she does a lot of work helping people through, of course, her PT work, but also, she is trauma informed and does cranial sacral therapy. So, Liz, thank you so much for coming on the show today. I appreciate it.
Hello, I'm so happy to be here. Thanks for having me, Michelle.
Of course, and it's nice to get to meet you voice to voice.
Yours is already so relaxing. I'm worried I'm going to nod off.
I know that's that hypnotherapy voice in me, man. Everybody says that my voice is very calming. Um, unless I guess if you get me mad or something, it's not. But let's first start with, well, first, I just want to quickly put out there my retreat that is for Cassandra syndrome and ongoing traumatic relationship syndrome in November. If anybody's interested, check out my website. ZenMindMichelle.com has the information. And Liz, I would love you to tell people how to contact you if they'd like to get in touch about your work really quick before, in case we run out of time at the end.
Oh, yes. Thank you so much. I do always forget that for some reason, but yes. I have many offerings coming up in the next couple of weeks, including a pelvic floor retreat, and I'm also teaching at a festival. And I also have a chronic pain course online, and all of those things can be found at www.drlizpt.com.
Oh, easy site. I like it. Thank you so much for
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
And why don't you
Mm-hmm.
tell us a little bit about, what you do to help people, heal and which in turn creates pivots in people's life?
Absolutely. Um, I really became interested in the realms of chronic pain when I was in PT school, not only because I had my own chronic pain, but also because it really is a true overlap of both ortho and neuro PT. And I should probably explain that because many people think, when they think of physical therapy, they think of, busted shoulders and knees and sports injuries. And so that is half of it. That's one branch of it. But another major branch is actually neuro PT, where we focus on neurological disorders, MS, Parkinson's, developmental delays in children like cerebral palsy, stroke recovery, and so forth.
Okay.
So it's really about, kind of retraining the brain-body connection.
Yeah,
And chronic
awesome.
pain is the perfect intersection of those two things.
Oh, yeah.
So for both personal and professional reasons, I was really diving into that. And then also like on a bigger scale, because of the opioid crisis that was occurring when I was in PT school, it was really forcing medicine to take an integrative approach, right? So it's part of chronic pain clinics that involve physical therapists, physicians, pain management specialists, psychologists, social workers, like the whole 9 yards. And so
Nice.
that was another reason why this field was really interesting to me. So I think chronic pain is something that so many people suffer from, and it also gave me a chance to kind of bring my more eclectic background into the work that I do, because when I went to PT school, I was alarmed that actually I was kind of in like a bro culture. I was like, wait, what?
Oh,
Like
yeah. That's surprising actually to
there was,
me.
yeah, I mean, it was just a lot of, khakis and polos and ex-athletes, and it was very surprising to me. I was like one of two yoga teachers, I guess, in a class of like 36 people. And, whenever I made suggestions that something could be maybe emotionally related, or that there was like another way of looking at something, I was definitely hushed.
Oh, I can imagine that would
Um,
not be well received.
right. So this working in the field of chronic pain has really given me permission to bring in all of my skill sets and to treat the whole person, and to take a holistic approach.
Oh yeah, because
Because even, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
like we
Finish
know
my
the
sentence.
mind
I know.
body connection, right? The like, and I think you've read The Body Keeps the Score, right?
Oh my gosh. This is the chronic pain Bible to me. I hand this out to all of my patients. If someone comes to me with, they've had back pain 20 years and they've been to literally every single person, they've done all the exercises, they've
Yeah.
had all the body work. Someone needs to start talking to them about what these deeper roots are that, Bissell Vendor talks about in his book. So that's for me, and also in my online chronic pain class, this is like almost required reading. It's like, listen, if you've had this pain for so long, like you're going to have to go deeper with it.
Yeah.
And
I
without fear of like, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna say, like, I think it should be required in school, like in college or
No
even in
kidding,
high
elementary
school.
school or yes, yes.
Yeah.
Preach to the
Like,
choir, absolutely.
because like there that
I
connection's there. We've proved, and obviously I work with that subconsciously, but it's like that, trauma is in your body causing you problems and pain. So we have to treat we have to treat it holistically.
For sure. And the problem is that, there's just there's a lot of like woo stuff that comes in, and then there's a lot of resistance against that. And then there's a lot of people who have like a really thorough training who are, like I hold a doctorate in PT, but then once you have a license, then there's fear that if you get too woo, that, you might be crossing. There's a lot of turfism within medicine, right? So, I want to make sure I'm not like, posing as a psychologist here when I say these things. So I also have to like very carefully say, this is what I tried, and if you would like to go on a deeper healing journey, please try this yourself.
Right.
So it's unfortunate that there's still so much like tiptoeing and kind of like fear that we have to do in PT to like not pretend. And of course, I don't pretend to be a mental health therapist or to hold that license. But
Right.
at the same time, I am tired of denying that the people that come to me who've been in pain for years and years, that there's not a mental or emotional component. And I think we're starting to make headway on that, but it's still pretty edgy within the realms of classical PT.
Yeah, I could see that. Well, and also it's like I'm a PT. I want it to be a physical thing that I can help someone do these exercises and that's going to help them.
For sure. But then you look at things like yoga, right, which knew this thousands and thousands of years ago, that you can't really compartmentalize all of these things if you really want a deep healing experience. There has to be, it can't just be talking about it. It needs to also be breathing through it. It needs to also be exercise and getting to know our body and ourselves, and how all of these things are connected.
Yeah.
Really strengthening that bond, and getting everything on the same page, all of our systems on the same page. And because of all the specialization in medicine, a lot of our systems have lost those bridges of connection, and they're very compartmentalized.
Yeah. Well, and we're
Um,
so
yeah.
disassociated as a people.
That as well, right? All of the distractions, and the lack of embodiment is, I think, another driver of pain.
Oh, yeah.
Um, right? Like I don't even. It's like I'm so busy attending to the world and putting out fires around me that I don't even know what's happening in my body or what I'm feeling or if I'm comfortable, right? So just being able to like name those things, it's a really powerful practice. Like, I was a yoga teacher prior to being a PT, and just the practice of yoga nidra, or just like naming the parts of our body to bring awareness to it. I'm sure you do this in hypnosis as well. It's also such a powerful tool, and while very much keeping the focus on our physical body,
Yes.
we're inviting these other realizations to come to the surface.
Yeah, I love it. So tell me a little more about like well, whichever thing you want to tell me about, because you have lots of stuff.
My God, I feel like we could talk for hours.
Oh, I'm
I
sure we
know.
could.
Um, well, I'll tell you why I reached out to you. I mean, I am part of this group for my own personal reasons, but I also, in being in dialogue with so many women who are in ongoing traumatic relationships, I have recently started specializing in pelvic floor. I mean, I don't know if I should say recently. Okay, like 5 years ago, right?
Yeah.
Um, started guiding my practice toward pelvic floor work because, oh wow, this is multifold.
Go
Number
for it.
one, when you're thank you. When you're working in an ortho clinic and you're dealing with tons of back pain, it's really another thing that classical PT tends to ignore is like, okay, we're also going to ignore like the head or the throat, right? It's like someone comes in with neck pain, I'm usually going inside their mouth ASAP because something's happening with the jaw, something's happening with the voice, something's happening with the throat. And, I'm talking about intractable stuff. I'm not talking about like, oh, I was in a car accident last week. I'm talking about like someone's had neck pain 20 years, right?
Right.
Like, what's going on? What haven't they said? What is their relationship to food? All of the things that are happening inside and underneath those external structures that is not part of the everyday conversation. The same thing happens when we go to the other end of the spine, which is the pelvic floor, right?
Yeah.
Like, so funny that in so many PT clinics, we're looking at everything except the very top and the very bottom. What about the bookends, right?
Yeah.
And
They're kind
so,
of important.
yeah, they're super important. But I think, there's also obviously some hesitancy to do internal work. Internal work is my favorite, though, because I feel like I am trauma informed. People do trust me pretty quickly, and that I can just get a lot more done in a lot shorter span of time. I
Yeah.
just go right to it. And so I had some of my own pelvic floor issues, and I said, let me go check it out. I went to a pelvic floor PT, and I am not kidding you. What I had been struggling with, which was like, I mean, I don't really want to diagnose it. Let's just say I went through millions of different like hypotheses on my own about what it could be. I was having some pain with urination.
Mm.
And within one session, my pain was resolved, and I had a totally unexpected, like deeply emotionally healing experience.
Oh, that's so nice that you
My
had that.
bladder pain went away. My back pain was resolved. I was like, what is going on? I mean, not forever. Obviously, I got to keep living and working, and so the back pain creeps back in. But within one session, I felt relief that lasted me for literally weeks, and I was like, this is powerful. And so I started pursuing my certification, and kind of the unexpected spiritual healing that I received from it is it dawned on me in that session that it is the first time that I had been touched or met in a way that was not transactional, not performative, and not perfunctory.
Wow.
Like every single other time I've been touched, it was for one of those things. It
Right.
was, okay, let me stick something in here to examine you. Or during like a sexual interaction where you have the performative things going on or the transactional things going on. I was touched in a purely curious and therapeutic and presencing manner. And I just started bawling because
Oh,
I was
yeah.
like, oh my God, here I am, a 40-year-old woman experiencing this kind of touch for the first time in my life.
Wow.
And that's when I said, this is it. Then I became like a proselytizer of pelvic floor PT, and I told every woman, I'm just like, this is just something you need to try at least once. Like, even if you don't have any issues, just to know what it's like to be met with that kind of touch in this space,
Yeah. I've
right?
as you know, I've had public floor therapy myself, and while it didn't, my issues are different, that didn't really get resolved. Is I mean, I stopped peeing when I was laughing, so that was good. I mean, when we get this
Absolutely.
age, we're like, I don't want to laugh or cough or sneeze because I might pee myself. It was so nice to like not have
So
that
common.
problem.
Yes,
But I
so
think yes,
common.
I
So
agree with you.
I wonder if like was any manual work done on you, or was it all behavioral training and exercise?
As far as the pelvic floor therapy?
Yeah,
Yeah. Oh yeah, there
did you put
wasn't
on a glove
the
and do
like
some?
trigger point, you know, fingers in
Okay.
places. Um, yeah.
Uh huh.
Yeah. And all the different
Yeah.
kinds of kegels and the elevator and uh you know, I was like, man, this is hard. Like I'm like, this hurts my
Yeah.
brain to like try to make my muscles do this. Like I'm tired, but not physically. I'm just brain tired from trying to concentrate and make my muscles move in this way. It was so interesting to me. And I really enjoyed it. Like had they not given me what ended up being like 2 hours worth of exercises, I would have still gone for, a while. But I was just like, I can't spend 2 freaking hours here. Like, ugh, no,
Yeah.
no, thank you.
Absolutely. It's extra tricky to bring awareness to a part of our body that we can't see.
Yes.
And by the same token, then extra healing once you do see it.
Yeah.
So part of the work that I've done in group settings, which is extra edgy,
Yeah.
is but I do this all with like, okay, you're with a sheet and you're putting like a tent over yourself. So modesty um is very much at the forefront of what's happening in a group setting. But it's also really nice to be like, wow, other women are also like discovering themselves at the exact same time. You
Yes.
know, I know that like mirror work and that kind of thing started in the 70s or who knows when, and a while back, and that's wonderful. And now it's like taking it a step further by like just learning the names of things.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, learning the names of things, and even of course I'm here in the Bay Area where like literally everything can be canceled as it comes out of your mouth. I've also heard the criticism, well, these names were given to us by the patriarchy. True, but it's better than it just being like this sort of nameless, like nebulous, unknown thing. And so the same ways that women who suffer from, ongoing traumatic relationship syndrome crave to be seen and known and felt, this work is what we can physically start with, repairing our own relationship to self, of naming and seeing and knowing and feeling the parts of ourselves unknown.
Yeah.
So yeah, so when I do that, I do that obviously on a one-to-one session, but doing it in group, it's like this, like the deepest yoga class anyone's ever had.
Right.
Because we're all learning these names together. We all might creatively, I mean, the puns are unstoppable, obviously, in these classes. But, we start to laugh together. We start to create our own names for these things, and we start to share our own experiences of these things. And so there's also healing that can be done with a collective around that. It's like not only have these parts been hidden from ourselves, but then we have also been taught to hide them from each other. And
Yes.
so a lot of this shadow work that needs to be done in order for us to heal and feel whole is being done on a very physical and tangible level, which I find refreshing, because some of this can sometimes seem like, in the realms of mental health and meditation and all of these things, it can feel so nebulous and hard to reach. But now that we can actually like put our hands on something
Yeah.
and be doing the work at the same time, it's really powerful.
Well, and I think a gathering of women is powerful.
Absolutely.
Like feeling supported with each other. Like I've been to some women's
Mhm.
circles that were just, so beautiful because everyone's in different places, but we all come together to just like hold space and send each other love no matter whether you're happy or sad at the moment. It's
Oh,
like we can all just support each other, and it's so beautiful when we do that.
yes, the sister wound is real, and there's work to do with it. The ways that we have been taught to compete with each other,
Mm,
the ways that we have been taught to always be punching down towards ourselves and not accepting compliments is kind of like an everyday example of that. To then be reversed and to be supporting each other's growth and witnessing each other's beauty
yes.
is the work that we can do for each other.
I love that. Like, I'm all about women
Yeah.
supporting and loving on each other. Um, and you mentioned you have like an online program. How is that, like a bunch of different modules? Are you doing Zoom groups, or how does that
I
work?
do. I I do. I'm working on a third, but I have two classes up so far. One is a mini course, which is just like an intro to chronic pain, and that's only $10 because I just want people to get to know me and figure out if they like what we're going to dive into before they dive into the master class. And so the master class is one that is worth about 6 continuing education credits, and that's a bigger commitment financially, not too much, like a couple $100. But it's a lot of time and investment and self-inquiry. So both of those are available through my site. There should be links there, and those are on the Kajabi platform.
Oh, perfect.
Um, but yeah, I think one more thing I wanted to touch on about that sister wound, or maybe
Yeah.
that wound like with ourselves, is like I really want to transform the way that we see our own. Um, I'm just going to I'll call it the yoni, just to encompass, even though it's a woo term, just to encompass the whole idea of like this physical and energetic space that is
Yes.
our womb, that is our center of creativity, right?
Yeah.
I think that many of us have spent our lives feeling like that was a point of vulnerability or a point of pain.
Mm-hmm.
And I just always tell women, this is actually a portal of potential and possibility. Like something like a man with intractable sciatica wishes he had like a vulva, so I could treat him through that. He doesn't. And so, and I'm not saying that to like shame men or make them feel lesser, but I am saying it to shift the power dynamic, which has been so out of balance for a very long time, and help women start to feel like, oh wow, this is actually an amazing like access point for my own healing.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
Yeah. Well,
not
I
an
mean, we're taught such
inconvenience,
shame around it growing
it's
up,
not
right? Like,
fragile. Right, right.
and there's no
But
shame.
just imagine if we started thinking of this as being like this powerful portal. I mean, it's very celebrated already because of its like potential for procreativity. But that's unfortunately one of the only things it's celebrated for. It's
Yeah.
also able to heal oneself and to nurture one's own body, not just the fruit,
Mm-hmm.
right? And like we deserve that. And I also think, like, just to tie it back to, the reasons that we came together and that we're talking, it is like undeniable, that we absorb other people's energy,
Mm-hmm.
right? Especially if you're an empath.
Yeah.
Even if you just hang out with someone who's angry, you may find yourself feeling a little bit angry afterwards, right?
Oh, yeah.
But
Yeah.
imagine very physically receiving someone's, and I am working with a heterosexual dynamic here, but physically receiving like someone's anger,
Yeah.
right? I don't
Oh,
know if you've ever had that experience during intimacy where you're like, oh my gosh, I think I just took on all of this person's bad day or emotional pain.
yeah.
The fact is that we should attend to that and cleanse that
Yes.
really each and every time. And so imagine by the time you've reached your 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th decade, the snowball effect is up. It's bad. Like, it's
Yeah.
time to do some deep cleaning, right?
We do. And we're running out of time, unfortunately,
Oh,
which we knew would
no.
happen, right? We'll have to have you on
Yeah.
again so we can continue the combo. Thank you so much for being here. And thanks everybody for tuning in. And my website, in case anybody's interested in the hypnosis side of things, is zenmindmichelle.com. And we'll see you guys next week.